everybody. New year, same shit. You already know what we do. The only thing we do here. Quarterbacks, we're starting it off strong. Don't draft any of these guys. I know you've been hearing everyone sucks except Cam Ward, and even him, he's, whatever, I guess, because you have to. I think this is going to be a fun year. A lot of depth in this draft, especially at running back, D line. I really like the safety class. And, receivers is better than I thought. But also this quarterback class I like better than most. I know last time I said that 2022, that didn't go so well. So I'm sure everyone will be terrible. But let's just waste about 30 minutes talking about them anyway, Let's get the honorable mentions out the way. Got a new little fancy generic photo shoot shop thing. Shout out to the Pages app. For all the Apple people, you already know what the fuck that bullshit is. But anyway, starting with 15, Seth Hennigan out of Memphis. 4-year starter, very productive guy. I like him, just no real elite traits, but he's the guy that I think can get on a practice squad and potentially be a backup. 14, my boy Cam Miller out of North Dakota State. Always repping Bison quarterbacks, I'm one of those guys. Trey Lance still has that potential, still has that talent. He just needs reps. But anyway, this isn't about him or Carson Wentz. Cam Miller, gritty, tough guy. Again, no elite traits. Not I wouldn't say an NFL level arm, but tough competitor, a little mobile, fairly accurate. I think he could potentially, again, get a free agent. Undrafted, slot might compete for you in training camp and shit. If not, maybe, fun CFL guy or USFL or whatever spring league this year we're doing. 13, Graham Ertz out of Florida. College football watchers have heard his name for years now. Formerly of Wisconsin. Smart, accurate quarterback. An NFL arm, I guess. Nothing too crazy. A little mobile. Has had some injuries though, and he just doesn't have it. Not that thing that made him progress. And I didn't think he developed that well every year. So we got him there. My number 12 is Riley Leonard. I know a lot of people have him in their top 10. For me personally, he just doesn't have an NFL arm. Good arm strength. The accuracy is just inconsistent. Him reading the defense, I think he struggles. It might be too fast for him. Very mobile, though. Good athleticism. You can potentially use him in like a Taysom Hill role. Goal line, quarterback, QB sneak guy. I think he brings value in that aspect, but he's just not going to be a starting quarterback, like a week in, week out starter. And then number 11, my boy Max Brosmer out of Minnesota, transferred from New Hampshire, FCS level. Very good accuracy, especially in the intermediate, middle of the field. He's one of the better intermediate throwers of the football in this class. Just doesn't have a big arm. Isn't too mobile for NFL standards, but I can see a team liking him, and he can potentially get drafted in the 7th round, maybe 6th, and could be a backup if he, puts his head down, studies the book, studies the film, does all that, hoorah shit. But I like him a lot. He almost cracked my top 10 as we start with Curtis Rourke out of Indiana, transferred from Ohio, as most of these guys transferred. Size freaks, you already know the deal. 6'4", 220, so he's the prototypical 2005 quarterback. Got him projected as a 6th to 7th round pick. Really good touch, good ball placement. I said that's his best attribute. If you hear NASCAR, my apologies, but Yeah, very good touch, very good IQ. He isn't afraid to hit the intermediate routes too, middle of the field. Throws a good catchable ball, got good enough zip, I'd say, but he just lacks the athleticism, the playmaking. I believe he played on an injured MCL or ACL, one of those. Sprain, something you saw his big knee brace that hindered his athleticism, which I think he was a little more mobile at Ohio. And yeah, just play extending isn't the best out of pocket. Accuracy dips on the run, doesn't really do that too much. He has an average arm. I wouldn't say it's incredible or anything. So you guys know me with the fun pro comps. I saw St. Bradford comp. If any of you remember him and how he played in the NFL, had some injury histories, but could still be a decent quarterback week to week. Had good enough arm talent. Also had knee injury coming into the league, but was still a first round pick. But I think in today's age, that style of quarterback isn't as valuable. But yeah, I can see him carving out a good backup role for him. As my number 9 here, we're already starting controversial. Tyler Shugg out of Louisville. Third to sixth round, he could get drafted at, anywhere. Second round pick, potentially. I guess I wouldn't be too surprised. That's where people are trying to hype him up to be. But I don't know. The highest I'd be comfortable with is fourth, maybe fifth round for me. He's very controversial. Let's just say that. Very polarizing. I'm sure you all know he's like 25, seventh year senior, has a ton of injuries, season-ending injuries. It's interesting who we care about that with, like one of the quarterbacks later in my list. Might be injury concerns or just not, or doesn't get the same excuses. But people love Shug. I thought he was going to be one of my sleeper guys. I sneak in here. People won't expect, but now he's, top 5 quarterback, top 3 I've seen. I see it. You know me, I'm an arm talent guy. He throws all the nice, cool passes, different arm angles, can rip it pretty well, good velocity. Can make cool highlight throws. We've all seen the Notre Dame throw, but his footwork, and when I say footwork, especially in this class, it's more like your bottom half, like your hip down, your mechanics. It's a little off. He likes to he likes to like fall back and throw. Like I wish I could like stand up and show you film of him. Like he's scared of contact, because of all these injuries. You're paranoid. I get it, but he doesn't get all the way into his throws. Doesn't get all the strength in. So that's why down the field throws might be off, or just timing routes. Again, really good arm, fun arm. He has some mobility to him. I don't know how much it'll translate into the league, but he's just a very older prospect with big concerning injuries. Like he's just not durable at all. It was hard to find a comp for him in a lot of these guys, but I saw Josh McCown comp. I said, might as well. I kind of see it. Tall guy, good arm, underrated mobility. He played for a long time, so he was an older quarterback, and Shug is going to have to be that. I think he could be a spot starter, when your actual starter gets hurt. I can't envision him being a starting quarterback for a whole year or 3 to 4 years. Like he just doesn't have it to me. I don't see it. He has for every cool pass he does, it's his decision making is all, after one read, it gets wacky. I think there's a NC State game where he's literally just like, he just underhand throws it, like, just get the ball out of my hands. Like, he's so paranoid of contact now, and he's just not as smart as you think a guy who's played 7 years in college is, because he doesn't have the snaps. Like, someone like Jackson Dart has more snaps and starts than him because he's been injured so much. So I don't know. Fifth round, you want to take a flyer on him, an older guy who might, have the talent to wow people. Sure. And nowadays older quarterbacks play until late 30s, early 40s, but I just don't see the elites, like, eye popping stuff. Besides the fancy, cute throws, think you're Sam Bradford. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm not high on him as other people are. I see the talent, but not ready to bank on it. As my number 8, Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. I had Shug higher. I had him at 8, but more and more I'm like, these are my rankings. I'm not going to let people peer pressure me. No, like, this is how I feel. I have no problem being wrong, as every draft analyst or wannabe geek like me online is. We're all, everyone from Mel Kiper to my dumbass here in my empty apartment, we're more wrong than we've been right. So I don't care. I'm just gonna do the rankings how I like them. So number 8, I got my boy Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. Smaller guy, obviously, so that's already gonna scare people away. We got a 4th to 5th round pick. That just seems right, I guess. Very quick release, gets the ball out of his hands quickly, especially when the first read's available, when he knows where he's going with the football. Really good accuracy. Good IQ, smart player. I don't think he puts the ball in harm's way a lot. I guess that could be a concern after the first and second read, what he's going to do with it. Good enough mobility. Tough guy too. Like, for his size, he's very, like, built. I'd say he's not like stout enough, but average arm, nothing too crazy. Borderline. Is it an NFL arm? We don't know. I'm gonna have to see it live, but it's not like he's scared to throw it deep. He definitely has pushed the ball downfield since his UCF days, and you want him to throw better with anticipation and man coverage, especially. Just get, once the receiver breaks, get a right there. Don't wait for him to be completely open. You got to comp up Tua Tagovailoa light. I said, I don't want to be disrespectful. Poor man's Tua, but pretty much, Tua, I think, has better arm talent, more accurate, smarter. So everything just a little bit less, but they're both left-handed guys from Hawaii. Dylan surely looked up to him in high school. Like, you could, like, how he played in Oregon is how Tua plays in the NFL. So I mean, the Dolphins would be a perfect fit for him if they didn't pick up Zach Wilson. You already know how my agendas will be pushing if Tua gets hurt. Hopefully not, but yeah, smart guy, tough guy, locker room guy. I think he can potentially, again, be a very good backup and play for years on end. And if he has to come in and start for a little bit, you wouldn't be too scared of that. So got Gabriel at 8 here. Number 7, my boy Will Howard out of the national champion. These next projections are going to be all over the place. You really don't know what this QB class, and after the past years, of like we all think that this guy's definitely going to come here and he doesn't come here. So I'm just broadening it. Third to fifth round, I can see him being that high. And then I can see, if just teams in the league just isn't comfortable with this class, I can see them just saying, yeah, we'll get these guys in the fourth, fifth round. So, but I love Will, obviously. Pros pocket presence, I think that needed to be highlighted because I think he's one of the better quarterbacks throwing with pressure when blitzed. I think there's a stat where he was like number one, like him and Shadur. I don't know. All the geek stats. I don't know, but he never really looked rattled in the pocket. He can maneuver out of it. Very good accuracy. The ball is rarely not where it's supposed to be. I mean, he could have better touch, really pinpoint catchable, but I mean, it's usually always within the vicinity of where the receiver should be. Good enough arm. I know there's been, even with me, a lot of talk about his deep ball, especially his accuracy. I think it's inconsistent because of his footwork, his heel clicking potentially, and full rotation on the hips. I think if he can sharpen that up, he'd be more dialed in. But that is a problem. And throwing on the run is also inconsistent for a guy who's a little mobile. I wanted to see a little bit more of that throw on the run, like in the championship game. The run outs. He brings three defenders Notre Dame to him because they're scared they might run. He just throws it up to Judkins in the end zone. I wanted to see more of that. Like the Penn State game, he got away from Abdul Carter, threw it to Jelani Thurman. It was a wobbler, though. It was, so just more consistency on the run I want. And then his processing, it's mostly post snap. I think especially at Kansas State, they gave him more opportunities to audible at the line. I think he's capable of doing that. It's just sometimes locking onto a receiver, the Texas game, like, okay, I want to get Jeremiah Smith open. He doesn't see the trailing linebacker there, throws an easy pick. So I think he, could be prone to a lot of turnovers in the NFL if he does that. But he's just a tough, gritty guy, leader. He that's what we needed, like someone like him to get us over the hump. So the comp is Daniel Jones with confidence. I was going to be even funnier. A guy with good accuracy, good mobility. I think Daniel might be a better athlete, just faster, but arm strength is kind of the same. I might favor Will more, but I mean, way better pocket presence. That's the thing. I was thinking of someone like Sam Darnold even for Will. But again, he doesn't really have good pocket presence either, and I think Sam just has a better arm than him. But yeah, I think he's the guy with, put him in the right system. You saw how he can run a pro-style offense pretty much, It's as close as you're going to get in the NFL or in college with Ryan Day. But yeah, someone who's not scared to push the ball downfield, unlike Daniel Jones, and isn't paranoid and scared in the pocket, looks to throw. Maybe someone, who doesn't have turf field so he doesn't trip. But I love Will. I couldn't. It's kind of hard. You'll see later, like the tiers. I finally made tiers for you guys where I have him. He could have been, 5 to 8. Really, it's hard to think. I just think some of these guys have more arm, more upside. As we're gonna see here with 6, Jalen Milroe, another controversial guy. In the case, not like he has no like character flaws or anything. It's just like opinions vary drastically on him, which is why he's 6 for me, because like just purely potential, like the untapped talent he has, I could have put him at 2. And then like just where he is now as a natural passer, I could put him at like 9, 10. So it's like finding a middle ground. Again, he could have been 5 to 8. Got him at 6, second or third round pick. You've heard rumblings that he got invited to the NFL draft to be, like in the green room and shit. I don't know what that means. I don't, that doesn't mean you're a lock to be in the first round. Yeah, he's a project. He's the project guy, and the athlete of this class. No one comes close to his athleticism this year. And coming into the league, he'll be a top 5 running quarterback. Like with the ball in his hands, he's one of the better ball carriers I've seen as a quarterback, and great arm strength. As you know me, arm talent guy, but I like to preference when you have good arm strength. He can have good accuracy at times and touch deep ball. It's just not consistent anywhere else. Processing, I'm worried about how he can read a defense, after the first, second read. Malik Willis comp was perfect. I mean, you guys know me. He's in the Malik Willis, Anthony Richardson family, and I try to give everyone a fair shot, like draft or scout them individually, but looking back at them, so I had Willis as my QB2 that year, Richardson at 3. Knowing that they were molds of clay, I'd almost say Milroe is more developed. I don't know if it's the word. I mean, he's definitely started more games in a Power 4 environment than both of them. Richardson only started about 11 games, and then Willis transferred to Liberty and only played a year. So I think he might be further along than them, but I don't know. He might have more questions at this point in his career than them. I don't know. But he's just very talented. You can't ignore it. You can't ignore the flaws, and you can't ignore the pros, I say. That's why he's a very intriguing prospect. It's literally, it's going to be whoever drafts him. Like most of these quarterbacks, like most quarterbacks ever, I think fans, we need to be like more aware of like the environment. Who's your coach? Who's your QB coach? How's the line? How are the receivers? Like, you need a lot for a quarterback to succeed in this league. So I'm hoping he goes to a team with a offensive coach or someone who's really good at developing quarterbacks, because he's fun. He's the creative Madden quarterback we all made. Big arm, can run. He's a smart guy, though. Quarterbacks, just in general, they're all smarter than what we think. Like, you really have to be intelligent to play that position. Like, you just have to. You have to know the playbook and read the defenses and see coverages, know what everyone's doing on the field. So he has that aspect to him. He no bonehead, dumb shit off the field, So I'm hoping he turns out successful, but I don't know. It's just, can he consistently read a defense? Can his accuracy improve in the intermediate? And we'll see. Number 5, my boy Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. Again, another guy, 3rd to 5th round. I don't know. I mean, like, that's the highest I could see him going, and then I could see people being like, well, we'll get him later, whatever. Obviously transferred from Ohio State. I'm the only guy in Ohio that still likes him. He just has good arm talent, folks. You know me. Here's my arm talent guy. Good mechanics, footwork. Like, in structure, he's one of the better quarterbacks. Just good footwork, hips. He has like a weird windup, but it comes out fast, like a rotating windup, almost baseball-like, but when it's all in motion, it goes out quickly. Throws a really good anticipation, probably second to Shadur in this, better at pocket, awareness, better than you'd think. He improved. I think at every level, really, at Syracuse. So that's a testament to him and Fran Brown. You can give him credit for that. With lesser coaching in receivers, that he looked better, and then you can obviously say the competition wasn't as good as Big Ten defenses, but I just don't think he was ever as bad as people said he was at Ohio State. I mean, I just don't see that at all. That's a conversation for another video. We'd make this an hour. So his cons though is processing again, kind of like with Will, but I'd say almost worse. When it comes to like staring down receivers, that's how a lot of his picks happened, I'd say. And sometimes he anticipates too much, that he's not on the same page as the receiver. I think of like the Stanford game. If you guys watched that game, very random, I know, but he had a pick six in that game because he threw it, anticipated, and the receiver didn't turn, or wasn't just turned around all the way. So get the timing done a little better. Playmaking, again, he's not the most mobile guy. He did have like a funny run. I forgot what game it was. Like a 15-yard rushing touchdown. But he's not going to do that in the NFL. It's going to be faster, so he might look slower. Him trying to like spin out out the pocket causes bigger sacks. You want to stop doing that. Maybe just throw the ball out, throw it away more. He's a gunslinger, so he's going to take more chances. He's going to potentially have more interceptions than most. He was like top 5 in interceptions. He had 12. Tell me if people who like hold on to interceptions, tell me how many interceptions is too much. I don't. We need to find out what the cutoff is, because I feel like it varies person to person, depending on if you like the guy or not. I know that's. I mean, it is a knock, but I don't know. 12 didn't seem too bad back in the day. Like Brady would throw 12 picks, and I don't know. It just, that never seemed bad. Maybe in college, you want to be under, let's say 10, under 10. Will had 10 this year, but he played more games. Ewers had 12. I'm trying to think, but I don't know. That's just, again, a conversation for another day. My pro comps, I had Kirk Cousins for the longest, like especially like since Ohio State. I think a guy with really good arm talent, not a huge elite arm, but I think it's better than what some people are comparing him to, like middling backups, like Bailey Zappi arm. Like, no, he can push the ball downfield. Tight window throws. I think he, for all the weird nerd stats, I don't really give a fuck, but he had like the most NFL throws and then the most turnover worthy plays. Don't really care about either, so take that without. I give you a pro and a con, so take that with you will. Smart guy, tougher than people give him credit for, especially dealing with our insane fan base here in Columbus. Just arm and talent. He's going to be more of a pocket guy, so like Kirk Cousins there, but a gunslinger can take chances. I've seen Baker Mayfield comps like that too, so you guys know me. I've been able to put multiple down. So yeah, I like Kyle. I think he could potentially be a starter, if not a really good backup that can stay around for, years-ish to come. Well, you never really fucking know. Number 4, we got my boy Jackson Dart. Another guy like Suge, I thought he was going to be my sleeper guy, my sleeper top 5 guy, but nope, everyone has him first round, top 10. The Steelers, we have to draft him if he's there, I don't know. I'm just not, I guess I wasn't that big of a fan, as most people are. So I got him second to third round pick. I guess I wouldn't be too surprised if he's first round, but I really think second round is where he's going to be. His pros, good velocity, good dart throws, as his name entails. I think a very good, solid NFL arm. Nothing too crazy. Good mobility. I think he's fairly accurate on the run, but his decision making really it's very like what inconsistent, with that Lane Kiffin offense. I tried not to go back to Matt Corral and compare him to him. I really didn't, but you hear people say it, and I was probably hot. Well, I know I was higher on Matt Corral because he was my QB1 that year, and even in hindsight, I think I'd prefer him coming out this year. Random tangent. I did anyone else see Corral throw at the NFL Combine? I thought that was funny. I'm like, okay. I guess he's trying to come back, but yeah, good mobility. I don't know. Good mobility, but with the pocket presence and decision making, if first read, second read's not open, he likes to like run around and scramble. You want him to stay in the pocket more. He doesn't sense pressure as well as you'd want. And like I said, just the decision make the Florida game. We all know that pick. You got like a minute left. You're down by a touchdown. You don't need it all in this one play. He just throws a bomb. Didn't work out for him, and he's another guy whose footwork, like lower his hips are like stiff. He doesn't rotate fully. Do the Dak thing. People, and I can believe it and agree to it. I've been saying that could mess up his arm strength and his velocity downfield. It might make balls flutter. Ayo. So comp for him again. All over the place. I said Mitch Trubisky with Kenny Pickett. Both guys with good mobility, good arms in theory, but lack the pocket presence. I also wanted to I don't know, like Sam Bradford or not Sam Bradford, Sam Darnold-ish. Like Zach Wilson without a big arm, like the mobile guys who have above average arms but not elite arms. Me, any excuse to get a Zach Wilson reference. He just doesn't have the arm for him as him. But again, another tough guy, good leader. Put him in the right system, like whoever Sean McVay finally drafts and deems valuable for him, like they're gonna be great. Like any young quarterback that goes there. I'm trying to think of these places. Kuiper got some going, or he had him going to the Saints at one point. So Kellen Moore, I guess I'd be comfortable with him. The Steelers, Arthur Smith. Sure, maybe. I wouldn't draft him in the first round. I'm not comfortable. I'm not like for sure this is our guy. Oh yeah, Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. He kind of also reminds me of. Those were the two players I was thinking of. Like average arms and or above average arms that can kind of run. I don't know. Again, he can push the ball downfield. He's not scared to do that. So I don't think he's going to be as conservative as Mitch and Kenny. The interceptions weren't a problem in college, at least like not a lot, but the ones he did there were like what? So we'll see. We'll see with Dart. I don't. I'm hopeful for all these guys. It's just the situations. I don't know. My number 3, it's going to be very controversial. Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Again, projection, the highest I could see him going is 3rd. Everyone hates him. They just think he's dog shit. So you could potentially see him at 4 to 5. At least, my fellow geeks online. You haven't really heard NFL teams say he's terrible. Again, pros, very good arm talent. Very good arm talent. One of the best in the league, or in this draft. Again, I don't know what some people are seeing. They don't think he has good arm strength. I don't see a lack of that. Maybe it's not as consistent, his accuracy down the field, but can we bring up that he played a whole year with a bruised oblique or torn oblique, like right here, again, like I was saying, the rotation, could that possibly have been a reason why his throws were inaccurate, people? Can we, I don't know. I just don't know why we as sports watchers nowadays, we're not including injuries, giving that, is that not a fair excuse? I don't know, people. If it's not, I'm a dumbass. We can laugh at me. He also had an ankle injury. As a quarterback, you kind of need, you can't just pick up a ball, throw it, like, I don't know, people. I just don't know what you guys are looking. What somebody are looking at. Again, tell me how I'm an idiot. Tell me how having a sprained oblique wouldn't affect a person that works at an office job that sits on his ass, let alone playing football. But again, great, really good arm talent, can make every throw. Good release, quick release, good form, really good touch, good IQ pre snap. You could confuse him post snap like how Georgia did. He can get better at that. Uh, Needs better velocity, really launch the shit in the tight windows. You didn't see a ton of those. But again, with that offense and again his injuries, didn't really ask him to do too much. And another thing, what does that tell you? Sark's confidence in him that he didn't play Arch over him, when he was injured. And I like Arch a lot. I've loved the Mannings. I fully expect Arch to be great. But what if he's not? That's the thing, people. We've all been wrong on very talented guys, and I don't know. Sark's a great coach, top 5 offensive guy. If he didn't feel confident putting in Arch, I don't like that. Has to mean something, right? Like, there's no way he just loves Quinn that much that he'd potentially ruin their season to have him start over him. That's just dumb. I don't. Coaches just don't do that, I don't think. But that's no other ordeal. Pocket presence we know is bad. He can, he just doesn't hear, or I guess see the guys coming until it's too late. People want to highlight my boy, the Sawyer strip sack, but Cameron Williams was just like a turn stop. That was terrible. But yeah, his mobility, I'd say it'd get better with when he's healthier. He can run for a first down here and there. He can move around. I think he's really good. Has good accuracy on the run. But with those injuries, it slowed him down. It made him seem like he was, not as mobile as he is. But he, for all the casuals that just read stats and shit, he was productive this year. He had more picks than he usually did the past couple of years, but I think he was just trying to do more. And you've seen him step up in big games. It's another thing that people think or say, like, he just chokes in every game. But this playoff game right here that you see, the Peach Bowl against Arizona State in overtime, he did what he had to do to win, made big throws. You think of last year, Alabama game, fully healthy, in Tuscaloosa, like, shitted on him. The year before that, when Bama came to town against Bryce, I know he got injured in the first quarter, but he looked like the better quarterback that game. Again, I got a guy I think with still untapped potential. We got a Derek Carr and Sam Howell comp, both guys with really good arm talent who, lack pocket presence or, kind of scared in the pocket. Not Tyler Shug level or like Daniel Jones, like that. I don't get that one. But I mean, I could see a scenario where, he's put in position with a bad line. It looks bad. But again, I'm hoping that one of these guys gets selected by the Rams or 49ers and maybe Brock gets hurt or something. I don't wish injury on people, but just get these young quarterbacks on teams with, good coaches. Like that. I'm going to keep preaching that. Like, I want to see these fun, talented guys succeed, because something's worse than watching, a Sunday game and it's just two boring ass quarterbacks. You got the backups in and the offenses are slow and it's not, terrible passes. So um, yeah, his upside's just higher for me than every. People can acknowledge he has the arm, but then they just say he has like all these mistakes that I just don't. I personally don't think it's as bad as other people. So yeah, I'm gonna quit rambling. I guess I'm a full on Quinn defender. I mean, I know I am. No one's as high as him to me. I just don't. I do not see the he's dog shit. He might be out the league for 3 years. Um, we'll go back to him if his injuries are that bad. Sure, but I think he can get healthy. But again, if his injuries concern you and Tyler Suggs don't, I do not get it. Tough guy. He's played through the injuries. Has missed a couple of games here and there, but not like whole years where he has to be 7th-year senior, transfer to multiple schools. You guys think I hate Tyler Suggs, how I'm talking, but I don't know. It's very inconsistent. As we're gonna, you saw the 2-1. I'm not editing this shit. I don't give a fuck. Cam Ward out of Miami, first round pick. He's probably gonna go first overall. A lot of people have him number one. We'll talk about why I just don't. It's not. I don't think there's too much of a separation. It's more of what style do you like? And you guys know me, I'm the arm talent guy, but Cam has a really good arm. I don't think it's like this elite, like great all-time arm. Like we've seen the Drake Mays, the Caleb Williams, the CJ Strouds past couple of years. I don't think it's to that level, but great playmaking on the run. Probably the best on the run thrower. Good poise. Not scared to just stay in the pocket or just stand still in the pocket. We've seen that where he's just like flat-footed. But that can mess up his mechanics, his footwork, his just motion in general. Gets a little sloppier, and it could get improved. And then cons. He's a gambler. Gunslinger. He'll throw what the hell balls. And they didn't get picked off a lot this year, but in the NFL, that could translate. So I think of a guy like Jordan Love, who had very good arm talent, mobile but not extreme athlete. I think they both are that. Cam can run for first down, and he's mobile enough to move and scramble around, but he scrambles to pass. He's not like Milroe or even Dart, who scrambles to just get the hell out of there. So Jordan Love, footwork was his big thing. Cam's, it's inconsistent, so you can work on that. Accuracy can dip with pressure, as most quarterbacks do and will, So since he's going potentially first, it's like, do we trust Brian Callahan to develop him with just Calvin Ridley? Like, I don't know. Like, there's just a concern there that he might be, the bad parts of Caleb Williams last year, where he's just running around trying to find anyone to help him, and it looks bad. Their line, they're trying to improve it. I'm not that confident in it. The Titans just need a lot of help. So I'm not going to blame him for that. Really good talent, really fun to watch. It's just, he's just not a surefire, like, can't miss prospect. I don't see it in him. I think he has more things to work on. Consistent accuracy down the field, intermediate. I really like the depth of this class. I guess I even it out. If I, and we're back an hour later. I had too much storage in my laptop, so the fucking video just stopped. But I was saying how I like the depth of this QB class better than most people, but I kind of agree on the top end not being the greatest prospects we've ever seen. I like them a lot, but just compared to other years, like, I don't know if Cam and Shador, I don't think they'd be top 10 players for me in this draft if I just made like a big board. But I think they're top 10 they're deserving of top 10 players because they're QBs. So I like Cam a lot. I just have concerns of how his game's going to translate more than most. I don't think he's like a sure prospect of past year guys. And then I just think Shedeur is more developed and more along in the process. He's more skilled at this point. You know, he has a lot of detractor. I don't know how I want to approach this. I don't want it to sound ranty or preaching or like I'm trying to sell you him. I don't give a fuck. You know, we've all been wrong. We've all been right on people. I don't, you know, it doesn't hurt my feelings that you don't like Sugar. I think most of his criticism is very silly and rarely has to do with his on the field play. You know, borderline racist for some people. You know, you can. I'm not saying that everyone who just doesn't like Sugar is racist, but there's definitely people there who are, and some might not even realize it. You know, you see a confident black guy and you just have a problem with it. I don't get it. You know, I mean, I'm an asshole, so I guess I just have a different train of thought than people. But, you know, at that point, we're not even talking about football. We're just doing psychology. So, God forbid someone be confident in themselves. You know, there's too many insecure people. They don't like it. But anyway, trying to just look at the athlete, the player, why I like him. He's the smartest quarterback in this class. He's the most accurate quarterback in this class. The ball placement would be his elite trait. Good anticipation that can improve, you know, with his con of holding onto the football, but it's because his line was so terrible. People don't care to include that. I don't know. Do we not just watch Mahomes and the Chiefs get blown out because of bad offensive line play? Shedeur's was terrible the whole year. No form of a running game. So he was just playing hero ball the whole time. So that's what the drifting, you know, the bad drifting, putting your back all the way to the defense. And, you know, that could probably turn into bad sacks in the NFL, but I think he's a better athlete than most people, so he's able to evade it in college. Very good on the run as well. I think he has a very good NFL arm. You know, it's not big. Obviously, it's not elite, but it's definitely not a noodle like some people are saying. I think it's as good as like Joe Burrow or, you know, Bo Nix, people like that. You know, Burrow was kind of a comp I was going to go for. Same thing with Bryce, but Bryce is a little more faster, shiftier. So I got a CJ Stroud comp because of the elite accuracy and ball placement, like a catchable ball, like a 20-yard handoff, you know. And then if you see how CJ played this year because his line was so bad, like that's kind of the similar play style that Shedeur has been playing for the past couple of years now. You know, people think CJ regressed, so I think it might be a even more accurate comp for some people. Geno Smith, I was thinking of too, kind of similar. You know, you hear a lot of Teddy Bridgewater comps, and I think, again, that's like a little slight jab because, you know, I liked Teddy a lot out of college. He was a first-round pick, but you can tell people aren't really saying that as a compliment. They're just using, like, in their mind, just an average whatever black quarterback 5 years ago, noodle arm. I just think Shedeur has more upside. The toughness, he doesn't get nearly enough respect and credit for that. You know, they try to question his leadership because he called out the offensive line one time. You know, it's like they weren't good. I don't. Like, I mean, if that makes you a terrible leader, I don't know, you know, whatever. As he has a leader patch on his jersey, you know, I'm sure just, you know, Dion just handed him everything in life, you know, so whatever. I never heard any of his teammates say anything negative about him. He's, again, had Dion, who's one of the best, if not the best, NFL player ever. Best corner, definitely. Helping us his whole career. He's had like Tom Brady be a mentor to him, and you guys know I don't give a fuck about him, but I mean, you'd think for some people that that's a good thing. So he's learned how to play the game with a lot of successful people. Again, just very intelligent, good, mobile enough. I just don't. I just don't agree really with. I mean, that's just how it is. We don't have to go back and forth and argue. I just think he's better than what people are saying. So I'm trying to think of what other shit I have to talk about. Again, a lot of it's not on the field related, and it's very, I don't know, it's very silly and unserious, very biased takes that I'm seeing and hearing. I don't. I'm gonna leave it at that because I really don't give a fuck, and I don't want to make it an hour-long video, but it probably will be. So here are my tiers. I promised you guys like last year. Like, I think Cam and Shador are the two best prospects. You got the very high talented guy in Cam and the very skilled guy in Shador. The mental, he doesn't let all this bullshit noise get to him, so that's going to be another good thing depending on where he ends up. If the Giants still want to pick him up, like the media and all the geeks online talking shit, it won't rattle him. You can tell it doesn't affect him. And then the tier 2 guys, very talented guys, just have some concerning stuff that they need to improve on or lack the elite talent in some aspects. But put them in the right situation, I think they could be good starters. 3 is the very good, I guess great backups that I guess could be starters. Shug's case, he has the arm talent. Dylan, he has the mind. Brosmer, he just has like the prototypical built, save their work, very accurate guys. And then tier 4, you're like priority free agents. I know you might hear that word. I mean, I think Leonard's going to get drafted. I'm just not as high on him as most people are, but guys who could develop into good backups, if not like, Canadian Football League, USFL standouts, are going to get training camp invites, definitely, though. So this has been my QB class. I feel like I could have gone even more in depth, but this video is damn near an hour anyway, so we'll keep it rolling with the other positions. And yeah, you'll be seeing me rambling and yapping. So this has been your boy King Kaleb here, signing the fuck out.